evening and welcome to the Charles River Parkland show. My name is Renata von Tscharner. I'm the president of the Charles River Conservancy, and we normally talk about the Parklands and the Conservancy, and we have a very special guest tonight. Welcome, Carol R. Johnson.
Thank you.
And it is a special treat to have Carol here tonight because she has been working on plans for the Charles River for many decades. And we will be looking at two particular plans today of the JFK Memorial Park near the Harvard Square and in the Lechmere Park. And as you know, the Conservancy's goal is to make the parklands attractive, active and accessible to all, and your parks accomplish all of that. So let's maybe look at the parklands, because you also bicycle along those parklands all the time, and we have a map of the parklands. And tell us a little bit of how you got acquainted with the parklands, with the river, and how you got to like that river.
Well, I've been living near the Charles River for many, many years. And in the last few years, I started bicycling, and I bicycle down along the Cambridge side, and then I cross over by the Science Museum. I come back the Esplanade. Sometimes I go out to Watertown, and our office has done some very nice work past Watertown in the Upper Charles. There's a beautiful pedestrian bridge that we and our design team have built and extended that trail so that I think it goes just about to 128 now. So the Charles River, the whole watershed, the whole system is getting better and better.
Yeah, and I mean, you started your firm in 1959. I started in Cambridge, and now you are in Boston, downtown Boston, on Broad Street with 67 people, an office in Knoxville and Abu Dhabi. And tell us a little bit of how you started to work on the JFK Memorial Park. We have an overview of that park, how it looked like when it was still occupied by something very different.
Yes, that photo there on the left shows the old car barns. When I was in college and we went to a Harvard football game, we took the subway all the way down. We got out in the car barn yards and walked across the river to the football game. The subway actually ended in what is now the JFK Park. And there was a lot of petroleum pollutants there that we had to bury. So it was also, besides being the car barns, during the construction of the Red Line extension out to Alewife, it was a construction laydown area. So this site had been put to a lot of uses, none of them the recreation parkland that Charles Elliott and you have been envisioning. So it was very exciting, not only to get a piece of land that would be part of the Charles Elliott vision, but also to have a memorial to President Kennedy that we could think about.
Well, it was originally at a site for the Kennedy Library, and that got, I think, that was changed because of parking considerations.
Correct. So the Kennedy Library moved to the old Columbia Point site, and this site, with the agreement of the neighbors, would become a development site for Charles Square and the Kennedy Institute and the Memorial Park, which was the third piece of the site that we were given, and the other two buildings were completed by the time we began work on the park.
Yes, and you mentioned Charles Elliott. Of course, Charles Elliott, he was involved in planting the wonderful sycamore trees, and in a way, explain of how your design then continued that concept of his.
Yes, Charles Elliott was this marvelous visionary. He saw the whole Boston Basin as a regional entity, and he actually was the one who initiated the protection of the river's edges of all 3 rivers of the Boston Basin.
And he bought them. He bought them
exactly.
for
the Mystic,
park.
the Charles, and the Neponset. We would not have those public open spaces if he didn't. His map. I have a copy of the 1891 map where he shows the areas that he recommends acquiring for public open space. So the Eliot vision is it's such an inspiration that here's someone at that time and with the culture of the period who could foresee how much needed the public open space and the conservation and protection of the riverbanks, how important that was, that he foresaw that long before others did. And that's the reason we have that land now.
But then you came in, as we see in this, the finished aerial, the view in the 80s, I mean, in a way, to take the 2 industrial areas, both the Carbarns as well as the Lechmere, and came in and expanded the vision or continued that vision. So when you designed that, what was your, give us an idea of what your goal was for that.
Well, and I should say that between Eliot and me, there were other planners who have worked with the city of Cambridge, so there were other visionaries who built on Eliot's vision, and then when the time came to actually create something that would be compatible with Eliot's vision, then I was fortunate enough to be able to work on both those projects. And for the John F. Kennedy Park, that was extremely interesting because it was a memorial, but at the same time, I wanted it to be part of the larger river vision of Eliot, and I thought that John F. Kennedy would appreciate that because it was a public facility, a part of a larger public facility. And Caroline Kennedy was on the committee that advised us, and she was positive about that direction, so that we have.
Maybe we should look at that painting also. That might also give us an idea. I think it illustrates beautifully of the way you have both the plantings and the open space in the middle.
Yes, that was done by one of our wonderful landscape architects, Judy Hanks-Henn, and Judy understood the goal was to make this fit into the greater Charles River Reservation, and that's how she did this painting for the dedication of the JFK Park, but for the dedication to show the larger area and the connection of this park to the rest.
Yeah, and we have actually a picture of the dedication here with a very young Caroline Kennedy there and our senator. And I think our governor at the time was Michael Dukakis.